This is the truck that we use the most here at the fire department. We take it out on all the house fires and the wrecks. It's our number one truck. It's our first one out. I've had people that sees me get out of this when I go to fill it up with fuel that said, "You mean they let you in that as much drugs as you used to use?" I said, "Yeah, I've changed my life around.
You're a different person.
I'm not that person no more. That person died whenever I got baptized."
Amen.
I told him, I said, when you straighten your life up, people trusted you again. See, nobody trusted me when I was in addiction, but now that I'm clean, I get opportunities to do other things. I get opportunities to do things that I love doing. I love helping people. Just like me working at the rehab, I get to help people every day. And that's what God did when he was here on earth, was he helped the people that didn't have nobody. So if I can go help somebody get out of a wrecked car, I've done something to that day. I've done something good. And God tells us that we need to share his love. So that's all I try to do. I'm Andy Vanover. I'm 41 years old. I struggled with addiction for 24 years. I started as a young child drinking at 15-year-old. My dad always came home drunk because he worked hard in the logwoods. That's how he fed us. And so I wanted to be just like him. I wanted to work hard and party at nighttime, I guess. It started out with beer and alcohol, and then a lot further through my life, I started trying drugs at the age of 18. Pain pills, nerve pills, things like that. And it just progressed because I got married with my first wife at 18 years old. She was pregnant at 17. And where I was in addiction, that marriage ended because I was a mean drunk. And so from there, it just gradually went on to where I was doing methamphetamines, and then I started making it. I was in and out of jail all my life, and I've had several broken relationships because of my addiction. In 2021 is when I had my breakthrough. I made it to the bottom of the barrel, as most people would say. I made it to that. I hit rock bottom. I was in and out of jail every other month. I was in jail. I caught 3 felonies in 2021 because of my addiction, trying to sell drugs and you know, I was selling drugs to provide for myself because that's about all it was doing. It was just paying for me to get another high. And so the last time that I went to jail, I finally decided that it was time for me to change my life. So I got on my knees in the bathroom at Knox County Jail, and I asked the Lord back into my life. And ever since then, my life has gradually increased. I've got back my family. I'm back on the fire department. I'm certified peer support specialist. I'm currently working in a rehab that helps me to stay sober, and I do an NA meeting on Monday nights so that I can share my experience with anybody in the community, because our little town here don't have very many meeting places. So I decided to chair one myself because I've been there. I've been clean now going on 3 years. My heart goes out for people that's in addiction because I've been there. I know how hard it is to give it up. Yeah. I've lost everything multiple times because of addiction. Everybody on my dad's side of the family was like that. Yeah. My mom's side of the family, however, took us to church, and so that's how I first knew about God, but I didn't give my life to God.
Okay.
But now that I have given my life to God, He's added back to me everything that addiction took away from me. That last time I went to jail, I was looking at the prosecuting attorney offered me 21 years in prison. And when I went back to the cell that night, I prayed to God. I said, God, if this is what you want for me, then I'll take it. But if you see fit to put me back out on the street, I'll do whatever I can to lead whoever I can to you. And so the next court date that I had, they told me that they was going to let me out on drug court. That was a miracle from God, because they was offering me 21 years in prison for the felonies that I had caught. And then they just come off the wall with that. So I took drug court, and that helped put stability back in my life to where I was getting up and having to go do my drug test and all of that. And through drug court, you got to go to church, and where I had not known God like I should have known God, that helped me to get to know God better. And now whenever I need help or whatever, I take it to God, and God helps me through it. There ain't very many people that takes it. Whenever they offered it to me, when I went back to the cell, everybody in there told me that drug court was set up for failure. But if you really want to get clean, drug court's not a failure. It will help you get stability back in your life, because where I was in addiction so long, I didn't know how to live life without some kind of drug. And after I started going through drug court, I started getting my feelings back. I started, I felt God moving in my life, because everything I would set a goal for and I would pray for it, within 2 or 3 weeks, a month or so, God would give it to me. I fit for like 6 months trying to get my license back. And I went to the license place 6 or 7 times, and every time I'd go up there, it'd be something different. They didn't want to give me my license back. And so I had 3 jobs that I was having to walk to, because I had to keep myself busy, because I know this is my hometown, and it's hard to get sober in your hometown. So I had to keep myself busy all the time in order for me to stay clean. I worked 3 jobs, and I've done drug court on top of that. In drug court, you got to get up at 7 o'clock to go do drug tests. We've got meetings at Adonta twice a week, and then you had church. So, I constantly stayed busy in order for me to seek out God and what God wanted in my life, so that I could stay straight. We can't keep what we got unless we give it away. So in order for me to stay sober, I've got to help other people. And that's where my heart's at, is trying to help other people out. Because if it wasn't for drug court and them trying to help me, I probably would have never made it. Even when I got put in drug court, I messed up like 3 or 4 different times, and the judge was going to put me back in jail until my time was up, which was 5 years is what they gave me. Was going to give me if I couldn't make it through drug court. And so I begged the judge to give me one that I was going to really try. Whenever I went back to jail on November 9th, because I had messed up in drug court, I prayed for God to just take the taste of addiction out of my mouth, because I couldn't do it anymore. I was tired. I was wore out. I didn't have no place to live. I was homeless. My family didn't want me around because they didn't know what I would have in my pocket or what I might take when I left. I had nobody but God. I told God if He'd give me another chance that I would do it right. But I would need His help, and I needed Him to take the taste of addiction out of my mouth, because that's all I wanted. That's all I knew. Every time something would happen in my life, I would run back to drugs. Until I fully give my life back to God. I had to give Him everything. When I was my early part of my recovery, I was like 5 months clean. I got a call one morning that my brother had passed away because of overdose. And that really opened my eyes whenever somebody that close, I lost somebody that close from addiction. So I really buckled down, and that's giving it to God. Giving it to God was the best thing I ever done.
God lifted it up out of you.
God lifted it up out of me. God helped me get my family through the loss of my brother, because I knew my addiction started with my family, my dad's side of my family. And when my brother died, they all wanted me to come down there and mourn with them, and I couldn't. I had to go back to my home church, and I've got to stay around people that's in recovery or that's loves God as much as I do. I can't do it on my own. I've got to have my recovery family and my church close to me to where I can call on them if I need them. If I get hurt or something like that, I've got to have somebody that's going to hold me accountable. My recovery family, whenever I'm hurting, they know what it's like because they've been there. My family, some of my family have never dealt with drugs and alcohol. So they don't know how to cope with it. They don't know what to tell me to help me get over it or get through it. And my recovery family that's been in recovery longer than me can actually tell me what they've done to help them get through it. So, yeah, my recovery family is closer to me now than my regular family. Whenever I got out of jail, I had to change all of my friends because the friends that I thought was my friends didn't want me unless I had dope in my pocket. And one of the jobs that I had to keep my mind off going back and getting drugs was working as a cashier at a gas station. So I seen every one of my friends that used to supply me or would buy off of me. And so if you ever read the books, the 12-step books, it tells you that you got to change your people, places, and things. You don't have to be rude to your friends supposed to be your friends that's in addiction. You don't have to be rude to them. You just have to. What I done was started inviting them to church, and they just weeded out themselves. They would shun me whenever I'd come around. They tried to hide their face so I wouldn't see them because they know that I was going to ask them to come to church with me. I know that what was a trigger for me would have been like losing my brother and losing, because I've got 6 kids by 6 different women, and every time that I would get mad or something, I would go back to addiction, and it would just set me off whenever I'd lose my family or my friends. So my advice to that would be get somebody that loves God as much as you do and stay close to God's presence, because that's the only thing that could comfort me whenever I was hurt like that.
Was being close to God.
It was being close to God and knowing that His presence can get me through anything. If they're just starting out and they're wanting to get in recovery, my suggestion to them is to find their higher power. My higher power is God, and it talks about it in all the recovery books. So we've got to find somebody, because we can't fix ourselves. We got to find a higher power that can help us straighten up our life. If you're in recovery and you have a tough time and you think you're going to relapse or something, you need to have accountability partners or sponsors, somebody you can reach out to that you know is going to come if you're having a bad time and maybe come take you out for dinner or out for coffee, or just come and chit chat with you to help you get through whatever it is you're going through. Well, I had a roommate that was my accountability partner. If I'd have a rough time at work or something, I would come home and me and him would sit and talk for hours until I got it off my chest, and then I was good. But I had to have somebody to talk to in order to get it out, because if you hold it in, the longer you hold it in, it's just the worse it gets. And if you start thinking about it, then you're eventually going to go do it. So Yeah, they definitely need more than one accountability partner, because if you call that one accountability partner and they don't answer, then there you are. You're going to still be in trouble or thinking bad things or thinking about relapse or whatever. So I've got several. I can reach out to anybody at church if I need to talk to somebody, or I can go down to the rehab and reach out to any of my fellow recovery guys that's been there longer than me. Any one of them will talk to me at any time that I need to talk. Recovery life is, I would like to say it's a happier life, more joyful life, because we've already seen hell. We've seen what hell's like, because anything that's involved with addiction comes from evil demonic spirits. And so we've done been there, we've done felt all that, and now that we feel God's presence and God gives us comfort and all that, we're joyful all the time. We're all the time smiling, happy. It's just a 100% better life to chase God than chase the things of the world. When I was in addiction, I never could keep anything. I would hardly ever have $20 or $30 in my pocket. Today, with me chasing after God and doing the things that God would have me to do, I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I've got 2 vehicles. I've got my own apartment, which I've not had since I was 17 years old, and I'm 41 now. So God has provided me with everything that I need. When I was in addiction, I didn't know where my next meal was coming from. There would be days that I would go 2 or 3 days without eating because I didn't have money to buy it. Now I don't have to worry about it. I've got food in my refrigerator. I don't have to worry about where my next meal is coming from, because God will provide it. I can hold down a job now where I couldn't when I was in addiction. I just recently got engaged. God's just blessed me beyond measure.